everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your host, the head of Stephen Stark, and joining me this week, my two regular co-hosts, Nessie Dietz, who looks fit to be married, and, well, we
Cheers,
couldn't get
darlings.
John, so we had to get other John. And we're also very, very happy to welcome Cecilia on board.
Hi, guys.
Welcome
You
back,
all-
Cecilia.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
really glad
look
to
at
be
him
back.
not drinking orange juice.
What you talking about, man?
But
I don't
anyway,
even know.
happy Halloween, everyone. Really, like, I love Halloween. I love playing dressed up. You guys that have seen my cosplay know I didn't have anything really well prepared this week, but Nessie and Cecilia both going for two looks of the same character. Very, very nicely done. And John, if you want to break character for maybe just a moment to tell us what your
Oh yes.
is.
No respect for an artist. Yeah, so this week I'm pretty much going as it started off just with the Marvel thing, and then I thought, let me go as anti-John as I can. So no Lord of the Rings hat, big ass headphones, and no orange shoes, but instead some 7-Up.
Right. So you're basically like the mirror universe.
Oh, and goatee.
Oh
Instead of
man, yeah.
regular-
Goatee, like
Nice.
half on, half off. I like it.
Nice.
So yes, as was pointed out, we'll be talking again about Dune tonight. We've got Sandworm in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously though, we'll be talking Beetlejuice. Tim Burton classic. Like, so I assume everybody watched the film this week or pretty recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I watched it.
the glasses will not work for the whole stream because I can't see you guys.
Yeah, I just moved into Winona Ryder's spot here.
Yeah,
This is my now. This is my dude.
that's your husband.
We're engaged. You know, it's formal.
The last time I saw this movie was like years and years back. I realized that I have never owned Beetlejuice in any format before. I must have recorded it off of TV when I was younger, and that's how I watched it. But I bought the 4K Blu-ray for the first time on any format, and I watched it, and it was freaking like I fell right back in love with it. Just as good as I remember, except I had forgotten that I mentioned this yesterday, but I had forgotten that a whole big sort of point of the movie was the model that Alec Baldwin's character, works on. And so when the movie started off with that aerial shot, as it got closer along and it looked more and more like a model, I was like, oh, I can tell visual effects not holding up and forgetting that it's supposed to be a model. So.
That's funny. Well, you can't see anything, Cecilia?
I
'cause of no
can't. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I am a little blind right now. I can't see the chat right in front of me in the computer, so I'm gonna have to use my phone. So if you see me
what?
typing, it's because I'm writing something.
I've got the
there.
same thing every week.
Yeah.
If you go on, because you're a guest on here, if you go on comments, click at the very top, because there's like a private chat and then there's comments. You should at least be able to see it, even though you can't respond.
Yeah. I mean, but I can't see those. I mean, I
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm
So,
pretty blind.
Beetlejuice, 1988. Directed by Tim Burton. Starring, let's just go through and make sure everybody gets their name drop. Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Jeffrey Jones, Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, Michael Keaton. I think that's it for like the main stars.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I hadn't seen this movie probably since I was a kid. And I watched it this morning.
Mhm.
I did not laugh a whole lot, but I was grinning the whole time.
It's fun
So
to watch.
it was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know that it was like funny, but it was creepy funny the whole time. But that's just my sort of like, that was my impression of it. Now there's plenty of stuff to dig into, the silliness and all, but like just off the top, John, you fell in love with it again. Cecilia, what about you?
I fell in love with it all over again. I mean, I watched it a couple times when I was a kid,
Yeah.
then a couple other times when I was a teenager, and now.
Okay.
And I was having a lot of fun while I was watching it. I mean, it is such a fun movie to watch. I mean, it's not the greatest. It may not be the greatest work of Tim Burton, but it is probably one of the most funny ones to watch.
Mhm.
But it's got Tim Burton's fingerprints all
All
over it.
over, all over.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
This was the movie I think where I really fell in love with his style, his
Hmm.
movies. Um, I saw it in the theater when it first came out. It
Hmm.
was like fun date night movie. Um, and we laughed. It was a riot at the time, 1988. It was a long time ago. But it was lighthearted. It had a great musical score. Um, you know, we were we were bebopping. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
Yep.
it's got a great score, and it's got a couple of like needle drops in there too on the soundtrack
Mhm.
that are not what you might expect, but they're really good. Like they fit so well. The Deo
Deo.
and Jump
I
in the
mean,
Line, both of those
I
work so well.
I was obsessed with Deo as a kid. I was
Hmm.
singing it all the time.
Yeah,
yep.
and okay, so 1988, I would have been 13 when this movie came out, 14 at the end of the year. Winona Ryder in this movie is part of my sexual awakening. Okay, uh, she just
Mine too, Stephen.
yeah. Okay, there you go.
We can't blame you. No.
I mean,
She was
she
15
was.
at the time.
Okay, so like
Hmm.
she's only a couple years older than me,
Hmm.
um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I'll just say that my taste in women does not deviate too far from that over the last 30 years or whatever it's been,
Mhm.
30 odd years. Um,
The Tim Burton aesthetic.
yeah, and Guilty Undertaker says Danny Elfman was born to score Tim Burton movies. You are correct.
Correct.
I mean, not everybody loves Danny Elfman's style, but there's no
They
mistaking it.
should.
Hmm.
Oh, you don't like Danny Elfman?
No, I said they
He
should.
said they
Like
should.
everybody
Oh,
should love his style.
okay. I was going to say, like, he's very particular. Like, you can hear a Danny Elfman score and know that it's him,
Hmm.
but it's really good what he's done, what he does, that sort of like goofy, creepy vibe that Tim Burton goes for. Danny Elfman
Mhm.
nails it every time.
And it is not always that vibe that you get when Tim Burton musicalizes any random Tim Burton movie. This one in particular is goofy
Yes.
and playful, and
And it's supposed to be, yeah.
like, yeah, but because, for example, in Edward Scissorhands you don't get
Mm.
that vibe. You get a really magical, mystical, uh, I don't know, kind of vibe, but this one is funny as it's.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So let's just turn it loose and we're going to freeform this. It's Halloween anyway. There's no freaking rules, right? Just bring up whatever you want about this movie. I'll give Cecilia. What's like the big thing from this movie that stood out to you?
Okay, there are a lot of things. I mean, production design in this movie is peculiarly Tim Burton-esque. It's one of the most Tim Burton-esque movies of Tim Burton in
Mhm.
regards in regards of production design. I mean, you get the he tends to like all this opposite color palettes when you get the pastels and light colors that reflect warm personality from the people that is living in that house, in contrast to the modernistic, the modern and I don't know, distasteful kind of vibe that you get when the other family comes to live in the same house. I mean,
Mhm.
they are supposed to be very artsy and stuff, but I mean, I myself know a lot of people that are very artsy, and I mean, I studied graphic design. I'm a graphic designer, and I was in contact with a lot of artists, and not all of them would decorate their houses this way, but it's like the contrast of the personalities of each family in the house.
Mhm.
And when with the original family, when you have this bright pastel colors, and then you have these other dark and kind of gloomy colors on the for the second family, and that is a constant in Tim Burton's movies. It's it's how he likes to portray things.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
like
it's
I'm sorry,
Bo
Nessie. Go
Welch,
ahead.
Bo Welch was the production
yeah.
designer for this. Hmm.
And the thing about how he's portraying the modern family, the Deepses,
Hmm.
are these people. They have no style of their own. It's fake.
Tacky.
So
That was
it's
the
like
word I was looking for.
so it's like the
Hmm.
real world, the modern world is just
Hmm.
fake, and here's this ghostly world that is actually the center of the story. So is the ghostly world more the real world, and these people are the invaders. So
Hmm.
that's very much his style.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's it's not the Deetzes don't even know what they like. They have to hire somebody to tell them what they
Yeah,
like.
they hire the most pretentious person they can find to tell them what
Hmm.
they like. Which, by the
Hmm.
way, I think he might be my standout character for this
Otho.
movie, Otho,
Hmm.
um, played by Glenn Shaddix.
Hmm.
Um, he's got some queer coding a little bit to him, and he's a little bit the butt of the joke, and that's maybe not the best thing about this movie. There's a couple things that made me go, yeah, this is 1988, all right. But it's not bad
Well,
in any way. And he
yeah.
is, but God, he was just so funny because he's so pretentious and he's so far up his own ass. It's just, I
Mhm.
don't know why it
Eh,
made me laugh so much to see him be that way, but just,
Yeah,
this
I will say the thing that stuck out to me on this viewing was that both the Dietzes and Otho, as as sort of what's the word I'm looking for? As much as maybe we can't stand certain elements of them, they were a lot more fun watching them as an adult versus when I was a kid. I automatically painted them as like the villains of the movie as a
Mhm.
kid, but honestly, they were just fun to watch in their own
Yeah,
Hmm.
ways.
and they're not really villains.
Yeah,
No,
they're
they're
not.
not at
no,
all. I mean, they're
no,
just
they're
as
not.
foreigners. I mean, they're just the outsiders in your house that you don't want, and that was it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, the
but
real
And
villain is, of course, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, yes,
Yeah.
of
Don't
course.
say it a third time.
mhm.
Nobody else say it.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. B,
Yeah.
Mr.
Mr. B, my
Mhm.
intended. I mean, he's a poltergeist. He's not like an ordinary haunt in your house. This is a spirit that's supposed to cause mischief and destruction. So it's like out of control. Um, and I guess it, as Kate said, it's pretty cool that your interior designer also happens to know a thing or two, he thinks, about the occult, which is also so 80s. Everybody had some new age theory, or they were all like, what is your what's your chakra? This is, it's a thing. It's a very much an 80s thing, getting the vibe of this artistic person just has this spiritual vibe around him as well. He can contact the other world. So
yeah. This was like such a bad joke. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't help but like kind of laugh at it. When the guy who's been run over by the car, how do I look? You look great. Oh, thanks. I've been feeling a little flat. I'm just like, yeah, this is the kind of movie we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how funny is it that the not quite afterlife is just one big long session of sitting in a civil service office waiting indefinitely for your turn.
Right, for the bureaucrats to do their thing.
And the paperwork to finally go through.
Of course, I loved Coach. I don't think we survived the crash.
I mean,
man.
the clues are really obvious at first when they first get to the house all wet,
Mhm.
and there are already some one or two things that are different in the house, and then they notice the horses and the below the mirror, and you all since the first moment you see them, you wonder that if they're dead, and in the first minutes obvious, even before they say that phrase, I mean, it's very obvious, it's super obvious, but even so, it's fun to watch how they realize they're dead.
Because they're a cute couple, but they're not the brightest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, just fun New Englanders going off to, their quaint little village to pick up a few things from town. Who knew?
I really picked up on light this time. Alec Baldwin's character is a little slow on the uptake and like recently diseased.
What? Yeah. I mean, the comedy.
Yeah, he's very talented in his ways, but neither one of them is brilliant. I wish they had him driving, though, when they ran off the bridge. And I knew, because like I don't really remember the movie, but I remembered enough. And when she got in the driver's seat, I'm like, yeah, make the woman drive so that she can be the one whose fault it is. Just saying. Saying.
Yeah, because he'd have hit that dog.
Yeah, he'd have killed the dog, but they would have lived through that, probably. The dog killed them, really, because it was holding that plank, and then it... Yeah, we'll blame the dog.
Man's best friend, dog. My ass.
Oh, Unjohn.
I love that it's MCU rocks. and the variation in that, John, for you isn't that you actually hate the MCU, it's that you're absolutely indifferent. Like, it's that you have strong emotion at all. That's what makes you Mirror Universe, John.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take. Alec Baldwin just being a lovable doofus. People can be killed by their best friends too, John. That's true. Don't believe me? Ask Hector Rivera from Coco. He was killed by his best friend.
Yeah.
Speaking of, like, totally off topic, but it was a year ago that we had Cecilia on the channel the first time for Coco. I believe it was like maybe November 1st, but it was like for Dia de Muertos, we had you on, and yeah, so we've been hanging out for a year now.
Yep. This
Yeah,
is our
thanks for
second
inviting me.
Halloween stream. That's pretty cool, Stephen.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Well,
awesome. You can invite me whenever you want to. So,
well, when the Expanse comes back, we're gonna, we'll talk.
okay, okay.
Kate, you
Okay.
still haven't watched Coco? You've had a whole year
You
since
got
last
no
year?
excuse.
No,
No
No.
excuse.
No, like
You have
Dude.
2 days. I mean, you have 2 days to watch it again. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
yeah. Dan put out a video earlier today to go watch that
Go watch
vampires
it.
in Tolkien. You'll notice my name at the end of that video, where I'm officially a Meyer now. So yeah, always wanted to be an angelic being.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
like in 2021, we look at Michael Keaton, and we're like, no, this guy can do anything. But this is the year right before Tim Burton's Batman came out. It came out in 1989. This movie came out in 1988.
Which surprised me when I looked at the date, because I don't know why I thought it was after Batman, but it's not. It was right before.
Right. But that means that at this point, because I remember when the Batman movie was coming out, people were saying, Michael Keaton, how is he going to play Batman, like a serious role? Because he'd never done it before. And this is more like the fare that we were used to getting from Michael Keaton, although Beetlejuice, let's face it, is kind of turned up to 11. To the point that the one line he delivers where he's like, oh, well, I went to Juilliard and I studied at the Harvard Business School, but like halfway, like he keeps turning it up. So even by the time he gets to the end of that line delivery, he's like, I've seen it 167 times and it keeps getting funnier, and he's just so over the top again. Like, I love this performance from him. It's just so ridiculous. It's so absurd. And I love absurdist humor. Just do.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't picture any other actor fitting that role better than him. Maybe Jim Carrey. Probably Jim Carrey would have done a good Beetlejuice, but I don't know. I mean, I believe that Jim Carrey would have put a little more physical comedy to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not, you don't really need that in order to provoke the same emotions that Michael Keaton does in this role.
Well, he's got the vocal control, and that delivery is just so good. The only other person I would consider would be like Robin Williams. I think might have crushed in this role too. But just because he's ridiculous and over the top.
Right. It's pretty gonzo, I think. It's just extreme everything. And the scene where they turn the interior of the house into a fun house. That just right there is just, that's Tim Burton let loose. Just what the craziest thing you can come up with. Let's do it.
Yeah, Mom remembers when they chose Michael Keaton to play Batman. We were all like, Beetlejuice?
And that's just so funny how your perspective really shapes that, because as someone who grew up on Michael Keaton as Batman, like he is Batman, and I never for a second questioned that. And then I remember going back and watching like promotional stuff years later from from the time right before it came out, and seeing how skeptical people were, and
Mhm.
But that's a
and
constant. I mean, that's a constant with the Batman character. Any actor that gets selected to play the role, all the people immediately starts to question if that person is the right Batman.
Yeah. At this
Right.
point, I
Yeah.
think we've kind of learned, because also like Heath Ledger as the Joker was another one where everybody was just like,
Mhm.
"What? That guy really? Brokeback Mountain's going to play the Joker, or the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You?"
Oh yeah, Kid Ledger.
But yeah, it just goes to show you that you shouldn't pigeonhole people, and it's Michael Keaton is really probably delivering one of his best comedic performances, which I was super surprised when I realized that basically Beetlejuice is not really in the movie a whole lot, way less than I remembered. Like he's got a commercial about 30
Mhm.
minutes in, and then it's about 20 minutes later before he actually shows up physically for the first time. And then he's gone again for a good long while and doesn't come back to the last 10 minutes of the movie. It's kind
Mhm.
of nuts how little the title character is in the film. But
I think it'd be very easy for the character to wear a little thin if he's
mhm.
Mhm.
overused, and I think he's used perfectly. And I like the way
Mhm.
how, even though we do see him physically in the commercial, in terms of like on camera, like in person, like the first time we see him is when he's going through the paper. You know, look kind of stupid
Yeah, but we
too,
don't really
and
see him or get much characterization at that
yeah,
point.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I like the way that they kind of lead up to him, because even though
Mhm.
we see his face and stuff in the commercial, he's not like actually in person yet. And even when he's like luring the fly in, we're still
Oh,
only seeing his
His
hands,
hands, yeah.
and it's
yeah.
not until he comes out of the grave and has his big entrance that we actually full on see the character.
Right.
And I think that's great because
His
it's a great build up.
right.
That was a
His character.
Zagnut bar. Zagnut. Peter Griffin asking about the candy bar. Zagnut. It's a real candy bar.
Not one I like.
I love how the fly is going, help me, help
Yeah.
me.
I think you're right, John, though. Too much Beetlejuice would be too much, which is probably why
Mhm.
I hated the cartoon they made, because
Yeah.
it was all Beetlejuice all the time.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm.
I
No.
barely remember that. I was super, super, super young at that time, so I didn't really. I mean, I remember seeing a couple episodes, but I don't remember much, pretty much anything of it. But yeah, I mean, Beetlejuice is supposed to be awkward, and it's supposed to make you feel weird, and I don't know, you just want to run away and don't see this person ever again. And this is why it was the right amount of Beetlejuice in the movie.
What's your favorite gag of his? Anyone?
Mm.
He's got
Huh.
a few.
I don't know.
Oh, well, I guess I asked a stumper, huh?
So I mean, I've already said, I like when he turned the interior into the fun house. That's pretty pretty awesome. And then
Yeah.
has all the, you know, furniture and everything just kind of anthropomorphized. I don't know, come to life in kind of a way. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it's always stuck with me, but when he zippers her lips and then he like winds up like he's throwing a baseball to throw the metal plate on her face, that I don't know why that one always stuck with me. I'm like, that's cool. I want to do that, because sometimes people talk too much. Just saying.
I just love her determination there, how he keeps throwing
Mhm.
things at her and then she unzips it and goes,
Mhm.
Beetlejuice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this movie is a classic and has continued to influence media, maybe not in the way a lot of other stuff has, but it's still there. It's still in the
Mhm.
zeitgeist culturally. There's a show that I used to love to watch called Community. It's a
Hmm.
sitcom. And I think it's in season one, they say Beetlejuice one time. In season two, they say Beetlejuice one time. And then in season three, when somebody says Beetlejuice, you can literally see him walk through the background of the shot. And I'm like,
That is
that is a 2-year gag.
Uh-huh.
Go watch
that's so
Community
cool.
if you haven't seen it. It's brilliant,
It
but
is.
funny gag. One of my favorites from that show.
Yeah. I will say when I was out shopping in all of the pop-up Halloween stores that show up this time of year,
Hmm.
looking for the costumes, everything. I had a hard time finding a lot of things, and I asked several of the people, and they're like, Beetlejuice is the number one selling Halloween costumes this season. So here it is, 40 years later, and they're outselling almost
33
everything.
years.
Yeah,
33 years later.
they're outselling everything on the shelf. So go figure.
Yeah, for whatever reason, like I say, I did not find myself laughing out loud at many of the jokes, but grinning
Mhm.
the whole time. So like my enjoyment never reached a really high peak, but it was at this really static, very good level through the whole movie.
Mhm.
Um, what's his name? I want to talk about. Can't ever remember that actor's name. Jeffrey Jones as Charles Dietz, like super square.
Mhm.
Um,
He's in a lot of 80s movies.
Yes, I'm used to seeing him as like the bad guy, like the
Mhm.
principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Mhm. Yep, exactly.
So
Whereas, like, I of course know him best as the Emperor from Amadeus, um, where
And
his,
Hmm.
he's just completely detached from everything, and he's just always saying, "There it is." And so, but I like him in this because he's like, he actually wants to enjoy the house as it
yeah,
is. He likes, he's
mhm.
vibing with it, and he's like, and he finds his room, and he's like, just leave
This room
this part of the
alone.
house alone.
right. Leave me this one room, and yeah, he's like he just wants to chill. I guess
Yeah,
they moved from New York City, and he's ready to just live in the
leave.
country, slow down
Mhm.
his life. And Catherine O'Hara, um, who has done other work with Tim Burton, also she's the voice of Shock, one of the three trick or treaters in A Nightmare Before Christmas. The girl witch trick or treater. But just the fact that she is so the opposite of him, I find myself wondering how did you all two end up together?
But it's funny because, like, again, it's part of growing older. I found myself kind of identifying with her too, because she's all like, if you don't let me make this house my own, I will go insane and I will take you with me. It's like, I can get that.
Yeah. Just leave this little part of the house alone. Let me have my man cave or whatever study office.
Yeah, that's exactly this the thing that went through my mind when I rewatched it yesterday. And how different they are, and how this different personalities contrast with Lydia's personality as well, that feels very much like a response or like a reaction to their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
We haven't talked about Lydia a whole lot,
Yeah.
even
Yeah,
though.
we haven't. It's Winona Ryder. She's great in everything.
Mhm.
Don't believe me? Go watch Edward Scissorhands, Mermaids, and Stranger Things.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Many
she's great
others.
in
I
that.
mean, many others.
Yeah, I mean those are just the three that came to the top of my
Hmm.
head.
I mean, yeah, it's. I think like when I saw this movie, I think I was a bit too young to be thinking about girls in the way that Steven may have been
I
at
was
the
at
time.
exactly perfectly the right age to be.
Yeah, but still, like I can remember that,
Yeah.
like after, you know, with this movie, it sort of established her as like I always knew who Winona Ryder was
Mm-hmm.
after seeing Beetlejuice because she was so iconic
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
in this role.
Yeah.
And so anytime I've thought of her in years since, it's like Beetlejuice.
I
Yep.
mean, regarding Winona, I mean, I would love to state that in a way she gave a face like Leo was commenting here that she was the original hipster, and I love the line where she says that she was reading the manual,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the manual said that humans, I mean the living humans, don't see the dead because they refuse to see the strange and unusual. And she's like, oh, but I'm already strange and unusual. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Hot.
she gave the face
Hot.
of the, I mean, she was the face of this girls, this type of girls that think they were a little different to the other girls.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she became like a role model, and I can truly say it because I mean, she is and probably will continue to be my number one girl crush.
I
You could
So
mean,
do a lot worse.
you gotta like a sad girl, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, I mean, and
I like how she's writing her basically goodbye letter,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like she had to start
the
over because she
veil.
didn't jump. She plummeted from the bridge, and I'm just like, yeah, you got to get the real like emo lyrics in there, man.
And
Why
these
why
are
jump when you can plummet?
right. These are the musings of a 15-year-old teenage girl in love with death.
Yes,
So yes,
at
and
least with the idea of death.
the idea, and even though I don't think it's said, it's somewhat implied that her mother is not in the picture,
Mhm.
and it is sort of heavily implied that she is also no longer among the living since
Right.
this is his dad's second marriage. This new wife, new life out in the wilds of Connecticut. But yeah, so she's kind of been in that emo death, contemplating death, thinking about death, and it probably is obvious. I mean, it's what allows her to see into the world of death.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
Yeah, because they
Probably.
never really explain it. They never really explain why she can see the ghosts and why she can communicate with
Because
them. Yeah.
she is strange and unusual.
she's strange and
Yeah, when
unusual.
they say that, but it doesn't really make them a major sense. I mean, uh, but you don't really miss that there is a major explanation for
Right.
this. I mean,
Mhm.
you just hear that she's already strange and unusual, and you're like, okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's. I mean, my takeaway from it is there's a lot said there that it's probably more because, you know, if you kind of fill in the blanks of what might have happened to her mother, she and her thoughts are already like so closely associated with death
Hmm.
and with
Mhm.
that and so I think that that's what has her attuned to that side of things.
Hmm.
Sort of with the thestrals and Harry Potter type of thing.
Right. Yeah. It's a theme that is not, it's common in a lot of fiction um and film. The
Now that I think
even
about it,
gothic.
she kind of reminds me of another character in the nanny, the little girl, Grace. She also lost her mother at a very young age, and she, I mean, the personality that she developed was very dark and closely related to death. She was constantly making this type of comments, and this was a little bit of a shocker for someone as bright and as loud and as um, overwhelming overwhelmingly extroverted as the nanny herself. So it's, I mean, it makes sense, because it's like a constant that you see throughout pop culture that you.
I, I just prefer to think of it like if you can see a thestral, you can see a
Mhm.
ghost in the Beetlejuice world.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's how I take it anyway.
Hmm. And I love the line where Beetlejuice says that, calls her like the um I forgot. No, 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 no. That the Edgar Allan Poe's daughter or something like that. I don't remember the exact line, but he mentions uh that, and it was hilarious.
And on another note, let me just say, Stephen, that I rewatched the movie on Thursday night right after I had come home from watching Dune, and
Oh wow,
and so
wow.
I
Sandworm.
was like, oh god.
To go from sandworms,
To sandworms.
1988 sandworms, to
Yeah, I believe we were talking about how Dune has influenced so much other stuff in pop culture, and there you go,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
right there,
Yeah.
sandworm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually saw some memes with that sandworm in
Mhm.
the Dune environment. It was it was very hilarious.
I like it. Imagine romanticizing death, and then you get there, and it's just like this massive amount of red tape, and wait for you to call your number. Yeah, that
Mhm.
would suck beyond the telling.
You're just sitting in those hard, uncomfortable plastic chairs in that greenish gray utilitarian office area, waiting forever. No TV.
Right?
Sitting
I
next
mean,
Just
to
that could be
every
an interpretation of hell.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. Um,
mm,
are we halfway to heaven or halfway to hell?
Hmm.
No good way of
mm,
knowing, actually, given their set of circumstances. Like, oh, it's just us. Maybe we're in heaven, and I'm sitting here going, bleh, bleh. Like, it's
mm,
very sweet that you guys love each other, but you're going to get sick of each other if you have to stay in the same house together for
125
125 years.
years. Better have a lot of jokes.
No, they don't. I mean, they're nice people. They're good people, but like,
Except for Beetlejuice.
Mhm,
well, I'm talking specifically about Adam and
Hmm.
Barbara Maitland.
mhm.
Okay.
The Maitlands,
The
who are
Maitlands are nice
dead.
people. They're good people. I like. I bet they don't stay up till 10 o'clock watching a live stream though. They go to bed so they can get up early and work on the house and like they're
Go to the farmer's market.
go to the farmers market. Like, not that that stuff's not cool, but like if they, I got the feeling that maybe they're a little boring.
Well,
They
I
are
mean, their big trip out to the store is just like, oh, 1 minute drive up the road.
Mhm.
It's
yeah.
like, oh my god, that's so
Oh, and
boring.
it has one of
He
my favorite gags in the whole thing where he walks into the hardware store and the guy outside just starts talking
And keeps on talking.
and like when he goes inside there's nobody there. He takes what he wants,
Hmm.
he sticks money in the register, and he walks out and the guy's still talking about something completely else, talking to himself the whole time. I'm like, yeah, I know some people like that.
yeah. The guy builds miniatures.
Yeah. Now
That's
that is cool though. I will give you
kind
that.
of
Like,
cool, but I couldn't sit for 125 years and talk about your model train forever. Plus, you can't get new pieces if you're dead. So,
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and I think
That sounds like Leo and I.
Dang, just out yourself.
Yeah. I mean, we're happy at this home. I mean, we,
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's not like you never want to leave your house.
Oh,
It's
no,
not
no.
like Kate's right. Their big 2-week vacation is remodeling the house.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, they're homebodies, all right. So, and
Yeah, but I mean,
and it's not until they start interacting with other people, they're pretty boring on their own. I couldn't watch a 2-hour movie of just those guys figuring out how to be dead. It's not until they start interacting with different people, different ways of looking at things, that they come out of their shell, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. They start pulling like the goofy faces to try to scare these people
Yeah,
off.
but can you blame them for being kind of isolationist when they have to deal with what's her name, Jane?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean
you want to talk
that
about the real
woman,
villain of the movie?
that woman doesn't even pretend it. I mean, the minute I bet that you don't see this in the movie, but I bet that the minute she found out that these people were dead, she immediately started the attempt to sell this house because she was already trying when these people were alive, and she was
Oh yeah.
super straightforward, and she was shameless, and you know,
He's the person that would look in the obituaries
Yeah.
to try to get a new hot tip.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love this though. I love this, Sean. Like,
Mhm.
don't kill yourself. You'll end up having to work for the bureaucracy in the afterlife.
Yeah. You'll be stuck in that same office building. You won't get to leave the office building and go back to haunt your house. So it could get worse.
And yes, Kate, you're right. Even their attempts at scaring people are boring, or like the best job they did, they had the people they were trying to scare had a blast and wanted to do it again. They're like, let's turn it into a theme park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do a theme park. Let's turn this.
Hold on, you know what? This deserves. Let's have a moment for everyone's costume. Nessie, we're going to start with you. Look, she's getting married to Beetlejuice. She's in the Lydia getting married get up. Yeah, you look fantastic. Cecilia doing more like a Lydia every day.
Yeah.
You look great. I don't know. Is that the back of your hair that you've made the bangs out of?
Yes, it's the back of my head and my
Right.
hair. I mean, that's the point. I have a really long hair, so I just
Hold
put
it
it
up.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then John is bad boy John. I love it. He even likes the
Okay.
MCU, this guy. And then, of course, me, I'm just a disembodied floating head. With occasionally hands that come up out of nowhere. But yeah, we all got a little bit in the Halloween spirit, and it's fun. It's fun.
I gotta say, it wasn't on my plans to get a costume.
Yeah, I kind of
Love
need to
them.
let you know, like only a couple hours before the stream. I'm like, if you got something you can slap together, do it. And man, you're making us all look bad.
I nearly completely forgot until it was mentioned on the Zoom last night, and
Yeah,
I had nothing.
Yeah, I've got an old cosplay I can slap on, but everybody's already seen that. So I was like, you know what? I've got an idea.
Yeah, Stephen,
I can turn my Green's Legend of Zelda t-shirt inside out and wear it in front of my green screen.
I had a vague sensation that you and I might wear the same costume. I did.
I mean, but what an icon, like she's actually got quite a few different outfits in the film, but they it's hard to tell one from the other almost because they're all basically black, except for her wedding dress. Which, can I just say, like, if I ever get married and my bride to be looks at me and says red wedding dress, I will be like, yes, please.
Get up and get the full effect here. So.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I had to improvise, but I'm good at improvising sometimes.
Well, I think you nailed it. I think you look great. I think Nessie looks great. I think John and I are acceptable given the circumstances. Oh, you're right. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Red wedding dress? Maybe I need to rethink that, huh? I definitely don't want my wedding to turn into a red wedding.
Oh,
But
no.
there must be at least 3 murders, 3
It
deaths.
won't be
so
a
it's not
dull affair. And I've got a little bit of Persephone's Delight tonight, so straight from the underworld.
Nice. Yeah, anything else to say about Lydia? I mean, we can always circle back later, but
I would like to mention something. I mean, I probably we know that the 2 main characters are a little bit boring. We have stated it already, but maybe that's exactly what Lydia was looking for in their parents, because by the end of the movie, she sort of becomes their daughter.
yeah, sort of surrogate daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when she comes back from the school, she didn't report her grades to her dad. I mean, or her stepmother. She went straight to what was the name of them?
Their name is Adam and Barbara.
Adam and Barbara, and she
Maitland.
develops this relationship with them. I mean, this.
Yeah, despite the fact that they're kind of dull people, they're actually kind of, they're kind of made to be parents.
Yeah,
right.
Like, and there's even a hint of that at the very beginning of the movie when the realtor / cousin or whoever she is shows up. This house really should be somebody with a family with kids. And I'm like, there's a few things wrong with that. First of all, they don't have to have kids if they don't want to. Second of all, if they don't have kids and they do want to, that's probably a sore spot. Third of all, it's their house. They can do whatever they want with it.
No, and they actually mentioned that they imply that they lost a baby, because he says when they're in the car and they're planning their vacations, he says we can try again this season during these vacations. So and when Laura tells them that this house should be for a family, the face she makes, and she actually says, I didn't mean to hurt you. So you with those lines, you already know that they were trying to be parents, but they couldn't.
Yeah, and Sean's got a really great point as well. It's that her dad and stepmom allow that relationship to exist between the Maitlands and Lydia at the end. They're just okay with it. And that's good parenting, to be honest with you. You know, if it's a healthy relationship, why wouldn't you want your child to have a healthy friendship with anybody, no matter who they are?
Yeah, that's why at the end of the day, like, what I was saying before, where now that I'm not a kid, I recognize that the Dietzes aren't, any type of villainous characters at all. And I think that ending very much proves it, because the fact they're very accepting of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when like the bad thing, happens where they're trying to, where the Maitlands are about to become discorporated, like they're quote dying. Even that was an accident. He wasn't trying to, get rid of them, and it turned out he accidentally was performing an exorcism
Yeah.
instead of the banishment. It's more of an exorcism, which is apparently a lot more permanent in um, Tim Burton world. But yeah, if this is it's a terrible. They'll suffer a terrible fate if they don't stay there for the 125 years. So yeah, it's all like we didn't really mean they didn't really mean to cause harm to them, and
So they never
you
really
know
established what happens after the 125 years.
apparently you go live with the sandworms.
I guess that sucks.
You get kicked out of your house.
Although, I guess if you get eaten by the sandworms, you just wind up in the waiting room with number 9,472,000,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's another
And that
thing.
is a-
Like, oh, I'm sorry, Nessie. Go ahead. You were.
I said, and that is a fate worse than death.
Yeah. I mean, you're already dead. Anything else is just like piling on. But like, we definitely see Tim Burton loves stop motion animation. Loves it because it's inherently creepy too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you
I
just
mean,
move
that-
it with no motion blur. It's just so it feels that like jittery feel to it.
Mhm.
Well, that shot of Beetlejuice as like the snake,
Mhm.
with his teeth bared, like was as terrifying to me now as it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's very
It's-
creepy. Very
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
Down to like what's her name? Catherine O'Hara's character. She makes a sculpture of it at the end and scares the crap out of her husband.
Oh yeah.
He likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, gosh, we've been going for an hour already. I guess we should go ahead and let's knock out the mid-roll real quick, okay?
Okay.
Let's start with the guests. Cecilia, what's coming up over there on Geekstarelia?
Oh, okay. Well, to be honest, sometimes I don't even. Sometimes I don't plan ahead. For long.
Right?
So, but the next two episodes are going to be in Spanish.
Okay.
As usual, I usually do 2 episodes in Spanish and then one in English. And I'm still not sure what I'm going to talk about the next week because that would depend on my guest. And but if you are interested and you missed it, you can watch the Dune conversation with Steven and my husband Leo. We had a few very cool insights. Leo is quite the nerd, quite the Dune nerd. So yeah,
Right.
see him. And it was pretty fun. And well, I'm right now. I recently opened my own Patreon, and my plans for that Patreon are. But the number one plan is to be able to translate and subtitulate every single episode. It's been
Wow.
53 so far. So that's going to require some money. And so that's the whole reason why I opened my Patreon. And well, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So
Mhm.
just more of the same, and
Mhm.
you have a Patreon now.
Yeah.
Well, I did not put your Patreon link, but I put your YouTube and
Mhm.
Twitter link in the description, and I'm sure you can find it. If you follow those links, you will find the link to her Patreon. I bet
Mhm.
I bet if you search on Patreon for Geekstarelia, you find it too.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
there you go. Nessie,
Mm.
what's going on with you?
Well, I'll be coming back real soon with Magical Menagerie 2.0.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah, that's always a lot of fun. And this season, I'm going to be covering topics of from creatures from North America and South America. So
Oh,
Ooh.
sweet. Are we going to
Yeah,
get
we're
some
gonna go-
Wendigo action
maybe.
and maybe some Quetzalcoatl?
Mhm.
I love it. I'll be there.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. So it's
Right.
going to be a lot of fun.
You gonna get some chupacabra in there?
And get a little chupacabra, and we have to start off with King Daddy, and we'll probably begin the series with Bigfoot.
Nice.
You
Gonna do
know,
gonna do
may
some
I
squatching.
may I make a recommendation here? I have some friends. I have some friends that they do have a podcast it's in Spanish. It's called Leyendas Legendarias, Legendary Legends. That would be the
Mhm.
the direct translation of it. And they are part of All Things Comedy Network, and they do cover some of those topics. I- as if I remember correctly, they talk about those type of creatures
Mm. Yeah.
and about the third or fourth episode, and it was pretty funny. They talk about horror things like paranormal and true crime and that sort of stuff with a dark comedy um shade. I don't know,
Okay.
mood, and it's pretty funny. They are very very famous here in Latin America. So if I don't know. There's probably someone that has already subtitulated their episodes because their fandom is like that, and you may probably find something in English already by them. Yeah,
Cool.
highly recommend.
So, but really happy that the unspun yarn is gonna get unspinning again.
Yeah. Yep. Had my what I did on my summer vacation.
Yeah.
Had fun.
I
Good
mean,
stuff.
it
Now it's
is what it is. You took the time you needed. I'm just glad you're
mhm.
coming back.
Yeah. Thanks.
John, you recently came back.
Yep, been quite busy lately. Last night I did a stream with the one and only Chloe from Girls Gone Canon, and we talked about what else? Dune.
Right.
And we had a lot of fun with that one, and she's very knowledgeable about Dune, far more so than I am. But I'm gonna try and fix that soon.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead and check that out if you missed it. And next week, it's back with the Knights of Kira. Christina's coming back. We're going to talk about Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. So really looking forward to that. And then the week after that, I'm having
Talk
Kelly
about
actually come onto the channel. She has been forewarned
Okay,
far
so
in
she knows.
advance.
Oh, she's
She
not just
knows.
finding out right now.
Yeah, she's coming on for a conversation we're going to have about the 2005 film Sin City. So,
Nice.
what are you doing, Steve?
Being weird.
So yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and then Sin City. So it's going to be a fun couple of weeks.
I will be there for both of those. It ought to be
Sounds great.
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 And as you said, last night y'all had a Dune conversation. I had a conversation with Cecilia about Dune 2 nights ago. Cecilia, just gonna say John had the better guest. I was your guest. He had Chloe. John beat you in that category. Just she's a much better guest to have for Dune than I was.
Except I had a huge oversight, which I think you guys may have talked about the music more than I did.
You did not talk about music much.
We did not talk much about the music because there was a lot to cover up with the past versions of Dune, and the book, the novel itself. So no, we didn't speak so much about the music, and yeah, no.
Yeah, I was because
No,
I had things to say about the music, and it was just something that I briefly mentioned something about it early on, and then we never got back around to it. But
little surprising, but there's a lot to chew on. Even just in half a book's worth of movie, there's a lot to chew on.
Yeah.
So I've said it a couple other places. I'll let you know what's coming up on the channel here. Don't know what's going to be happening in 2 weeks. We'll figure it out. I'll get with Nessie and John, and as always, y'all who are watching, if you've got something you want us to talk about, all you got to do is throw it our way. We'll see what we can do. But next week, November the 7th, we are going to be getting back to I Know That Nerd, but this time it will be with the awesome Clint of the Learned Hands podcast. A very smart, very funny man, and I'm super excited to have him. He's great. He's just great. I'm going to have a lot of fun trolling him and trying out some lawyer jokes on him. We ought to have a lot of fun.
Which also means John gets a week off.
Right, John, you get a week off, which is great. Nessie, you know what, Nessie, you can have the week off too.
Oh, thanks.
Tell your boss I said you could have the day off.
Thanks. I'll get a note.
All right, I'll sign it. Got to make sure we shout out our patrons because they're awesome. Our Patreon High Council consists of this gentleman right here, Ridiculous Ed Tollett, aka Sean, who I've heard once won a staring contest with the sun. Right?
You lie.
No, I think that's true.
He doesn't go outside.
But our High Council also has Lord John Bronsteen the Wise. I heard a rumor about him that when he smells sharks bleeding, he attacks out of instinct. Also, Sixto Sounds, aka JP the Axe Grinder, who has been known to perform to be able to play 7 different chords on the guitar at the same time. And of course, the lovely Lady Leaf Underhill, whose fists are so fast they make the speed of light wish it was faster. They are also supported by the lords and ladies of the realm, including Ryan Stavka, the Russian Quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, and Arch-Maester Emma. Thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. If you want to become a patron and have me say something ridiculous about you, links down in the description. I'm going to bring up HereBeCon again. So we had kind of reached capacity at HereBeCon. Then we had to move it it was supposed to be a couple of weeks ago, but we've moved it to January 8th through the 16th. Most of the people have been able to make that transition, but not everyone has been able to make that transition. So with that being said, if you want to come hang out with me and Nessie and John and, Cecilia in theory is going to be there too, just provided that the border's open, I think. So Cecilia's husband, Leo, will be there. Many of the people from the chat that are in the chat right now will be there. Laura Petrocelli's going to be there. Kate Bertinsky's going to be there. Jess Britveck's going to be there. So, yeah, just come hang out with us. It is not free.
Wait, what?
It is not free. I'm sorry. I was just looking at what Sean said and it made me laugh. It's not an expensive vacation, but it is, there is a cost attached to cover because we're going to have a giant Airbnb and stuff to do daily. So yeah, come hang out with us in Dallas in January when it'll be cold, but it ain't going to be cold like some other places. But yeah, we've got a couple of spots open for that. So come hang out with us. Is there anything else we need to cover in the mid-roll? I don't think there is.
Not that I can think about. No.
I can't either. If you think of something, I mean, you know how this show is. It's chaos here at all times anyway. So if you think of something, just throw it in,
Expanse season 6 is coming. Get hype.
Right. Yeah, I know, Kate. I know.
Well, it was cold last year, so
It was, well, that was actually February.
Yeah, I remember that. But that horrible.
Did y'all get snow?
It was. Yeah, yeah, and we also got the blackout too,
Ooh.
because our peculiarly on the north of our country, of Mexico, we have the same network, electric network that
same
than
Oh,
grid.
you're
Texas.
part of that same grid?
Yes, so we
Oh, man.
we had the same thing here going on, and it was awful. Uh-huh. But it's much warmer here than it is in Dallas, here in Juarez.
I'm
I mean,
sure.
it's cold, but it's not as cold as other places. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, great. So I guess let's go and talk about Beetlejuice, shall we?
Okay.
Alec freaking Baldwin is in this movie, and he plays a boring dork.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny looking back at this because Alec Baldwin is like a completely different version of Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
He's so
Alec
young in this
Baldwin.
movie.
It's almost unrecognizable if you have your idea of the current Alec Baldwin and you go back and watch Beetlejuice, you just can't believe it's the same person.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first noticed the change, which was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was around the time of The Aviator, because I remember him playing like, well, first of all, I mean, I'm not just talking about like physical appearance, because he has put on some weight as he's gotten older, but rather than that, it's his sort of persona and his performances, where he started being more like this, playing a very aggressive type, that he's done in like 30 Rock, and and again in that film The Aviator, The Departed, and all that. But when he was younger, he was like playing sort of softer spoken leading man type.
I just see him now.
roles.
I just see him now on Saturday Night Live, and I'm like,
Where he did
yeah,
his Al Gore
Trump.
was so good.
His Trump kept me alive.
Sorry.
His portrayal is just, I mean, leaning into, it was very Tim Burton-esque. We'll just put it out. Just leaning into it. But I mean, his comedy has come around, is what I'm trying to say. He's honed that craft. And
So
if you look
what's
at this as
crazy,
his first
though,
attempt
like,
at comedy, and then
this is his first quote unquote big role.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
This is only his third film credit at all. Same
Oh
for
my God.
yes, and same for Winona Ryder. This is like her third ever film credit, her first starring role.
Okay.
And I'm
Sorry.
looking at their filmographies. So Gina Davis was in The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. So that was to be her first starring role. But like, yeah, to have like Alec Baldwin had done 2 films where he was like a supporting role. Winona Ryder had done 2 films where she was a supporting role, and then Beetlejuice, which is like, it's kind of nuts, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
right.
Sorry, I didn't pay much attention because
Because dog. Well,
my dog was getting crazy.
internet rules apply. Puppy, show us the dog.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, she's gone.
well,
She's gone.
sorry,
Okay.
y'all. If
Hey, man.
you weren't looking, you missed it.
I mean, I
There she
guess.
is. There
Hey.
she is.
No, I was going to say, I guess it's strange for me because when you're a young kid, Like, you have no conception of when certain movies were made, and they all just kind of exist together. So, I just think of, young Alec Baldwin of, Beetlejuice, Hunt for Red October, The
Mhm.
Shadow, the movies of that era.
Right.
This could have been the movie that launched their career.
I mean, it was in some
It
ways
was.
because they were good in it.
Yeah.
And after that, I mean, Winona became one of the Tim Burton girls. I mean,
Hmm.
one of the
Hmm.
classic one, one
Well,
of the classic
she
ones.
she reprised her role as in Mina in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the woman married to death. So
Yeah.
that was the grown up version of Lydia. So
Lydia, yeah, and of course we have her character in Edward Scissorhands.
hmm
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But although that character is more of a, blonde all-American girl
Uh
than
huh.
Lydia is.
yeah, the not Burton girl.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do have the. I mean, Winona Ryder has this huge eyes, very expressive eyes,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
those are essential for every protagonist in Tim Burton's movies. I mean, you had Winona Ryder, then you had Christina Ricci, then you had Elena Bonham
Mhm.
Carter, and
Hmm.
it's the same
Mhm.
for all of them. Even for Johnny Depp, they all
Yep.
have big, huge, very expressive eyes, and that is something very important, and it's like the trademark of
Look, you're literally like naming my crushes. I mean, not so much Johnny Depp, but you're like Christina Ricci,
uh-huh,
okay?
uh-huh.
Uh, Helena Bonham Carter, man.
Hmm.
Like, there's something about Bellatrix Lestrange that just
Hmm.
Mm.
Bellatrix Lestrange could easily be a Tim Burton character.
yes, easily.
Yeah,
Mhm.
easily. Yeah.
If she wasn't already, I think she got borrowed.
Uh
Stalker.
huh.
Yeah, but I guess it just tells me that Tim Burton has a really good eye for talent because none of these actors. I mean, okay, Gina Davis was a little more known at this
Hmm.
point. Michael Keaton had been making movies for a decade at this point.
Mhm.
Of course, Catherine O'Hara had been around for a while. Jeffrey Jones had been around for a while. But
Mhm.
like Lydia and Alec, or not Lydia, but Winona and Alec Baldwin both sort of like launched their careers on some level because this movie specifically was so successful,
Mhm.
which is a little surprising given how weird it is. Like
Well,
when it's like I think Tim Burton has his finger on the pulse of like or knows where that line between too weird and just weird enough is. Because he manages to skirt so close to going over that line, but making movies that everybody still loves, be that this film or Nightmare Before Christmas or the way Batman was weird, but not too weird.
mhm.
Hmm.
I,
How
I think he's got, or my favorite Tim Burton is probably going to always be Edward Scissorhands. Actually,
See, and I kind of like it the further he pushes it over the line.
is there a bad Tim Burton
Pee
movie?
Wee's Big Adventure was Tim Burton's first ever movie.
Mm.
Beetlejuice is his second film as a director. Yeah, which is nuts when you think about it, because Pee Wee's Big Adventure was really weird too. But I
Mhm.
love that movie. Oh, hold on, just gotta say hi to Shar real quick. Don't sneak you
Yay.
off in Lady Shar, but it's nice to see you. She likes your outfit, Nessie. I guess
Obsessed.
the rest of us are chopped liver, but it is nice to see you,
That's
Shar.
our lot in life, Stephen.
Yeah, it is. But this is like literally his second movie directing, and you can already see like his DNA is throughout this whole movie.
Yeah, he pretty much sets his mark as you see the Tim Burton style. Here it is.
Yeah.
You know.
And I love that it's really consistent through all of his movies. I mean, I once had the opportunity to travel to New York City while the Tim Burton exhibition was there. So you saw a lot of the costumes, a lot of the sketches that he worked on,
Mhm.
and well, many things. And it's a constant. I mean, his style never breaks, even if in brighter films like Big Fish. So
Right.
I
But
mean,
even
you
even
get
Big
this.
Fish
Yeah,
leans
even
in
Big
the
Fish that
weird.
had that didn't have this dark palette, that dark color
Hmm.
palette. It was more like the other, like I was saying before,
Hmm.
the this pastels, lightful
Hmm.
colors that you also get in some of the scenes in Edward Scissorhands, in
Hmm.
the of the neighborhood, and Winona herself in that movie. But the even if you are seeing bright colors, you know that it's a Tim Burton movie just
Hmm.
because of the
Yeah.
way he portrays things and the music and many aspects. And I
Hmm.
love that about him.
Well, Alice in Wonderland is probably going to be, as colorful as it gets,
Yes.
but it is also so freaking weird.
It is weird. More than dark, he's weird. Although he does like dark a lot as well.
But when he leans in on the color palette, he really just accepts it. I mean, you look at Sleepy Hollow, and then you look at Alice in Wonderland, and you see these are made by the same directors, and yet you're like, yep, sure is.
You know that
You
they are
just
the same.
know.
But he's like I let's be honest, not everything he's ever made has always 100% landed with me. But
Hmm.
he's he's got quite a list of films that I really do like. Um, so like being art being as subjective as it is, and him having a pretty distinct and maybe even extreme style, the fact that I actively really enjoy more than half of his movies, I think that says something about his ability to find the sweet spot with the weird.
Hmm. And most of his movies are on my Halloween playlist every year. And as a matter of fact, I think most of the movies we watched last year on our Halloween month movie night. I
Yeah, I
think
remember we watched Sweeney Todd, which did not work for everybody, but I was laughing my ass off. I
I
love
did.
that.
I laughed my ass off. It was so funny.
Sweeney Todd is great.
Yeah.
You know what? Though, let's steer us back to Beetlejuice. Just to we'll save some time at the end for other
Mhm,
things, what have you.
mhm.
But let's if there's something else to be said about Beetlejuice, let's have it said. Um,
Dale,
he said it. He said it. He said
Dale.
it. The
daylight
shrimp hand
coming.
is genius. The shrimps in the bowl, and then they come
Yeah.
out like creepy, very creepy. I love that sort of sight gag,
I could never look at Shrimp Cocktail the same after seeing this movie.
right?
Like I'm like poke, poke, poke.
Mm.
But no, like that is the like iconic part of the movie for
That
me.
is
That
the iconic part. I think everybody who,
Yeah, just
even if
think
you haven't
about
watched
this.
the movie,
Those people showed up to work, got their hair and makeup done,
mhm.
got dressed, and sat in the seat, and then at some point, Tim Burton looked at them and said, "Okay, and now the next part of the dance, everybody face their chair and shake your ass at the table."
Mhm. We're going to
Like
be doing this dance
that
from the
was a day
seated
at work for these people.
position.
And you
Daylight
you know
coming.
that had to be the funnest thing to shoot because I
That
was
was a
looking
good day at work.
because Winona is not doing any of that choreography in that scene. She's standing off to the side. But if you look at her in any of the shots that she's in the background, she is trying not to lose it laughing. Like,
Yeah, as far
it
as
just had to be
choreography
so
goes,
much fun.
But no, I remember being, I don't remember what grade it was. I know it was at some point in elementary school. There was something for one of my classes where um, we were playing music for something. I don't know. And I asked for Deo just purely because of Beetlejuice. And I was just in love with that as a kid. I would always be singing that in my, like, to this day, if I belt that first bit, my dad will pick it up because that was just a thing around the house.
same
Cecilia, you're
here.
still
Same
muted,
here.
just in case you didn't know. You're still muted, just in case you didn't know.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay. Hi, Weezy.
Happy
Not the
Halloween.
normal rainbow hearts. You got all the spooky emojis today. Yeah, I agree, Sean. Like, it just, that would have been so much fun just to be a fly on the wall while they were shooting that
But I
stuff.
feel like it would still kind of like fit in with her character anyway. Just the sight of seeing her stick in the mud, you know, dad and stepmom and all these guests like being controlled by your friends who
Like
are
puppets.
ghosts singing Deo and shaking their asses.
Yeah.
I'd be laughing at that too.
And
I mean,
I'll just
I
say,
don't know.
like,
It's
I gotta
sorry.
say, it's the most fun possession I've ever seen on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beats
like,
Emily
I mean,
Rose by a country mile.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I mean, it's embarrassing enough seeing your parents dance, or your parents and their friends are like, this is just had to, it's like weird for this kid.
Like, and I do want to point out, like, like, as much of a joke and as fun as the scene is and the way the characters are acting, but the performances, like, throughout the number are so good because as like first as Delia starts singing and then Jeffrey Jones is kind of like uncomfortable shifting in his seat, like and then he joins in and starts doing this, and the Otho is like, it's cute, Delia,
Yeah.
like they're all so good in that scene as they're gradually taking over.
That is probably the best scene of the entire movie.
Thank you, Weezy. I love me as a disembodied head too. I thought it was a great Halloween costume to do since I have a green screen. But yeah, I agree, John. Like, Catherine O'Hara is just nailing the timing on that, and like she's dancing, but she doesn't understand what's happening, but she's still in time with the music. Like, that's a complicated kind of thing to try to pull off, I think.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a reason it works so good because, like, yeah, it's a catchy song, but what really makes it so much fun is the way the actors are pulling it off. Like they're fully invested in, like, acting as though they're singing it while at the same time the utter confusion on their faces and so it's so,
and those jerky movements of dance, like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, lip syncing while losing control of your body at the same time is a hard thing to pull off. And
yes, I would imagine so.
They nailed it. They did such a good job. I mean, Catherine O'Hara just, yay, just over exaggerating everything, and she's so uptight.
And their faces, they are so surprised
like,
at first, but then are actually enjoying it. And
then with the napkins.
Oh man.
They get possessed and decide, yep, let's build a theme park around this. This is great. All our friends will love this. People will come from miles around.
Yeah.
It's like what you were saying before. It's their, it's the best, for lack of a better word, poltergeisting
Mhm.
thing that the Maitlands have done, but they really don't have any conception of what frightens people. It's like, that's just a fun thing.
Yeah, this
But-
is fun. Let's do it again sometime. People will pay money for this.
They do. They do.
Yeah, it's called an amusement park. I go there. I was just there a couple of weeks ago.
I know a bunch of people that would pay to go for a session like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a GIF of that dance, and I just can't get it to load up. Oh, I'll pay attention to the stream instead. How about that? Yeah, if there was a theme park, if that was a theme park, Laura would go every week. It would be fun. It would be fun, especially if Winona Ryder's going to be there in the Lydia outfit. I'm in. Yes, Dan, you figured it out. You did.
Now, actually, this is...
I'm naked and covered in invisible paint.
No, actually, this is just how you look all the time. It's just you're normally covered up in clothes. You're always invisible.
All right.
The rest of his body is just a construct. He's actually a disembodied head.
Right. I just concentrate really hard on creating an illusion of having a body.
It's all CGI.
You know what we don't know, guys, is that Steven is a ghost.
Well, I'm blue. If I was green, I would die. All right. We have gone completely off the rails. Anything else?
As opposed to what?
Yeah, okay. But when I notice, I usually try to steer the thing back a little bit, So, yeah. You know what? We barely talked about Gina Davis in this. So let's make sure we give her due, because she's also great. Although I will say, she's the character who has the most questionable stuff going on around her. She's the one that's made to drive the car, so it's the woman's fault that they die. I don't.
I never caught that.
I didn't get that perception.
Okay, I did a little bit, but not too much. But just how gross it is when Beetlejuice acts towards her the way he does when they first meet. I'm just like, yo, I'm not really super comfortable with this.
Well, you shouldn't.
But you're not supposed to feel comfortable with that. I mean, that was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of gross. But
then
again,
Beetlejuice is not a good guy.
Yeah, but the
whole thing.
Alec Baldwin punched that man. Gina Davis punched that man, or how about not Adam Baldwin? Not Alec Baldwin. Adam Maitland punched the guy who's feeling up your wife, for God's sake, show a little backbone.
Yeah, but then again, these are people that are too boring to get into a fight.
Right. You're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just to show how passive they are. Mm-hmm. Another part of that, to show how not proactive they are. They're not. I lost my train of thought. No train's coming through here.
They're not assertive people.
They're not assertive,
they're
right?
Not.
But I'm just the way that played in the 80s, though, him slapping her behind or trying to look up her skirt and stuff, it's played as a joke, and it's not funny the same way it was to me in 1988. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, neither is it to me, but I was a little kid, so.
But it's the 80s too, and we every time something like this comes up in an older movie we talk about, we say the same thing, no, don't really dig that part. thank God we have moved on as a society somewhat from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd feel differently about it if Beetlejuice was supposed to be any kind of admirable
hero?
character. Yeah, but the
But he
fact that
really is
he's
just the worst, isn't he?
yeah, so it still fits in with me, even though it's sort of an unfortunate sort of 80s element of, it probably was intended a little differently, but for my own personal sake, it still works because he's a very despicable character.
Bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gina Davis really. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nessie.
I was gonna say, yeah, he just leans into the sleazy, slime ball character.
Right.
Used car salesman. He was portrayed as a cockroach at one time.
He's absolutely a used car salesman. Like, they channeled that energy just from how he's presented in that TV commercial we see, and how he's all like, there's that classic line of you want a car, I want to sell you a car. He's like, you want them out of your house, I want to get them out of your house. Is very, very his sales pitch is sleazy car salesman. You're right.
Exactly. That's pretty much the vibe he's repping the whole time.
Yeah.
Trying to he just wants to get out. He just wants to be let loose. So
and I do want to
throw his sales pitch in.
I do want to say we were commenting earlier about how other actors might have added like more physical comedy too, but I have to say that Michael Keaton, what he was doing may not be as overt as what some other comedians might do nowadays, but he is absolutely brilliant with physically what he's doing in this. Like, when he's got the spikes pointing at him and he's doing that kind of, the thing. It's like, it's absolutely genius, the stuff.
And of course, after he gets the spike, that's when he starts feeling horny.
Yeah. 80s joke.
Yeah, bad joke, funny joke. I also love the ghost noises. Somebody was saying that earlier, like when the Maitlands are first trying to scare them off and they're wearing sheets and they're making the ghost noises. And Lydia's like, gross, y'all, keep it down. I'm just like, that's not what that's supposed to sound like.
So somebody said it in the chat earlier, but yes, that did go completely over my head as a kid.
Right.
I did not get what that was supposed to mean.
Yeah. I got it.
And somebody
but at the same time, it's quite innocent. I mean, that tells you that she doesn't have any idea about what's really going on right now.
Right.
And somebody just mentioned Juno, and I did like the part where, after Beetlejuice gets distracted, she's like, that was my idea. I want Beetlejuice out of the picture.
And that he was her former assistant. So he was also a caseworker, or he worked for the civil service, so to speak. So yeah.
I mean, can you blame him for going wrong?
Right. I mean, exactly.
If you were, I mean, if you were condemned to work on in a bureaucratic environment for the rest of your life and afterlife, wouldn't you become a bad person?
Maybe so.
No.
Yeah, I would.
No. So that's probably why, the sandworms were always chasing him, because he was supposed to be out there with them when you fail as, you're haunting or you leave the rigid society or control of the bureaucracy. You're out in no man's land, which is where the sandworms are.
That part was also such the sleazy car salesman. Just all of a sudden he's like, hey, sandworms, right? You hate them. I hate them too.
Yeah, you hate them. I hate them. Yeah, he's just trying to anything to relate to these people, to suck them in. Like, we've got so much in common. I'm your friend. I wouldn't cheat you.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we got just about 20 minutes left in the stream. So anything else you want to make sure you say? I've got a couple things, but I'll save them to go last or whatever. Unless somebody else, if nobody's got anything off the top of their head.
I had something, but let me I
Okay,
it got lost.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with mine then. Otho is my favorite character. We've said that earlier. I'm gonna circle back to that. He's got a couple of lines that I think are just solid gold. One is, I know just about as much about the paranormal as I do interior design.
Oh
When they're
yeah.
seeing the boards
Yeah.
outside, and I'm like, yep,
Yep.
I
Uh-huh.
believe that you do. I believe that is accurate.
Yeah.
And the other is, he's talking about somebody who's going to come visit them, and he's like, he's the one that gave us the talking Marcel Marceau statue. People love
Like,
that.
what?
So, who knows who Marcel Marceau is?
I do.
He is a world famous mime. So, like, not only is it a statue that talks, it's a statue of a famous mime that talks. And I'm like, that is a brilliant joke if you know who Marcel Marceau is.
Mhm.
That's very much an inside kind of,
Yeah.
Very cerebral type joke.
Right.
And I think we also get like a cameo with Robert Goulet, right? Isn't he play? He's in his
Yes,
the
Robert Goulet
boss.
is like the boss guy.
Right, the boss. And you've got this extremely talented Broadway theater actor
Mhm.
who's landed in this zaniness.
Yep. Who gets knocked through the roof at the end of the movie, knocked through the ceiling. Yeah. But yeah, I just, Otho is such a fun character, and like his horror moment is at the end is wearing that blue polyester suit with the wide lapels and everything.
Oh.
That was
It's like,
great.
yep,
Like, oh my God, I'm wearing
like that's his living nightmare.
Mhm.
a leisure suit.
I understand. I can relate.
Yeah.
It was probably something his dad wore.
Probably.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, anyone else? Anyone
Oh,
else
I
have
remembered.
something? Okay, go ahead.
I love the scene where Beetlejuice reveals the name to Lydia,
Mm-hmm.
that he's playing charades with her, and she
You're out of my
tries
mind.
to and she's like, Beetle, juice, Beetle, juice, y lo así. And then she starts repeating, but then when she realizes that he was the snake that was endangering the life of her dad, then she says, okay, I'm not gonna say your name. And that was pretty funny.
It's just like, I think I should talk to Barbara. No, you don't need to talk to Barbara.
Yeah, his delivery is so good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Mhm.
Like I say, I was grinning the whole time. I don't think I had very many belly laughs, but it's just from start to finish, I was having a good time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why it's kind of on my. It's a Halloween film.
Yep.
It's our. I watch it every year, and it is a
Oh.
tradition. But
It
it's
just
such a good thing. You can watch it with your family.
Yeah, you can watch it with your kids.
You can watch it with your kids. You can watch it with your grandma. Everybody can enjoy it and sing along.
I'll tell you, it just made me really happy because again, I haven't seen the movie in years. And I was just really grateful that when I sat down to watch it, it was exactly the movie that I remembered, and that I was chuckling at all the same parts and grinning throughout, and just had a great time. It's nice when childhood favorites like remain,
Hold up.
yeah, and they hold up.
What was
Yeah.
the rating on this film?
Well, it's probably PG-13.
Mhm.
Might even be just PG.
It might be.
I cannot find. I'll just Google Beetlejuice rating.
My guess is PG-13. Oh, PG. Okay.
So yeah, you could watch it with your grandma
Yep.
or your dog or your
Yep.
kids.
Yeah, because like it's definitely like I watched it as a kid. I mean, I say a kid. I was a tween or like 13 when it came out, 14-ish. So, and it wasn't too scary for me. But it definitely has its moment where you're like, whoa. Like the first time when she's hanging in the closet and she tears her face off and the eyeballs fall out. And it's in that stop motion animation style. We're like, whoa, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's freaky, and also I want to say, like, and this will come as a surprise to no one, but I just loved all the special effects techniques in this. Certain ones may not, like, we can tell they're aged, especially like the sandworm and things like that, but it just brings a smile to my face, looking back on that older age of movie making. And I think even if you could tell that they're older effects, they still have so much charm to them.
It just adds into the whole ridiculousness of the whole movie. It adds to it. Its age doesn't. It's not. It was never meant to look in any way real.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they never tried, and the fact that they didn't try, and they're just trying to make it these fantastic creatures.
Like one thing it's got going for it is the fact that it is the afterlife where all this, or it's ghostly stuff happening when you see all the weird animations. So like, do we know what afterlife stuff is supposed to look like? So for all we know, it could look like that. So it's got that going for it.
I mean, if the afterlife is hanging out in your house and demented sandworm sock puppets are outside, and not bad.
Well, and also it's another element to it is the fact that because Tim Burton has made like completely stop motion animation movies like Nightmare Before Christmas, that style just sort of becomes part of the Tim Burton world. So that even if it doesn't look quote unquote realistic, it's still, you completely accept it.
I think that it plays in its favor. I mean, watching it so many years later, when you see a movie with some sort of special effects that they were meant to look real, and then you watch it many years later, you can tell. I mean, you can tell that it looks
cheesy.
It doesn't. Yeah, it looks cheesy. It looks weird. But when you have something like this that wasn't supposed to look realistic, I mean, you immediately understand that it was meant to be that way.
That is not supposed to look realistic.
Not in the least. It's a demented sock puppet. That's kind of what the vibe I got. And so it's a sock puppet. But that's part of its charm, and I think that's what is going to keep it holding up for another 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least. I'll be watching this with my grandkids one day, maybe.
Yeah. I'll be watching it with my grandkids someday. My granddaughter's only 5, so she's still a little young. Well, yeah, just turned 5, so she's still a little young for this, but
it won't be too scary.
It won't be too long. Give her a couple more years, 8, 9, 10 years old. It's perfectly good age to watch this film, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. And she'll laugh.
Yeah, it's funny.
She'll get it.
And I just want to mention before we start to run out of time, the amazing way this movie ends with shade, senora.
No. And oh my goodness, the witch doctor scene where it's like, okay, The whole movie, Beetlejuice is just constantly running his mouth, constantly. You know, he's the used car salesman, and then he sits next to the wrong guy in the waiting room. It's just like, you know what?
He knows what the guy can do. It's like,
You know,
dummy.
To me, maybe the creepiest thing in the whole movie is the hunter with the shrunken head who just like will slowly turn his head and eyes at you. Just like, ugh, very creepy. I love it.
Yep. But finally, somebody could make him shut up. Kind of. Maybe it's a good look for him. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's hilarious. It's probably one of the things that had made me laugh the most with that scene when.
Right there at the end.
Yeah, I mean that the characters in the afterlife are hilarious just by watching them. I mean, they're supposed to look scary, and they are scary, but in a fun way. So it's cool. And
like the showgirl that got cut. No, the magician's assistant. They got cut in half, and you see half over on one side of the bench and the other half on the other. It's like funny.
Oh, and another tiny detail that I found hilarious is that I've known and well enough people in my life that have been into a Catholic school, and they get to become in a certain they develop certain personality, so that when you in that final scene when you see Winona Ryder coming out of her school with this uniform, and it was a church. It doesn't imply that it's a Catholic school, but you get the idea that it's a private school, and that tiny little detail also adds a lot to her character and why she is the way she is. I mean, I can relate it to some of the people I know that became like Gothics, like Gothics or rebellious after being in a Catholic school.
Right. I do appreciate at the end how she has softened somewhat. Lydia has, although she's not a soft character at all. You know, but she has softened a little bit. She's found a more balanced version of herself when she's, you know, by the time we get to this point in the movie right here.
So great.
It is so great. That's almost as good as this.
Well, normally I would say no to that, but in the spirit of today, I'll be saying, damn right.
Okay. Like this I'm never getting rid of, just so you know. Okay, guys, last 5 minutes. I think I've said everything I can really say about Beetlejuice. Again,
holiday classic.
Yeah, it's a Halloween classic. Everybody who's in it is great. Winona Ryder is hot.
Yeah.
Final thoughts? John, Cecilia, Nessie?
I just loved
I'll watch
the
it next
movie.
year.
I was grinning like an idiot, like all the way throughout the movie, and it just made me really happy.
It is. It's a feel-good, happy kind of movie that it touches on some, darker subjects, but it doesn't take itself seriously in the least, and it's just a fun way of looking at death. Death should be our friend.
Yeah, I agree. And as for me, well, it will always be one of the most iconic Tim Burton movies, and possibly one of the funniest, and I love it.
Right
it's
on.
one of those 80s jewels.
Yep.
That remain up to this point. I wish we have someday an episode of the movies that made us about Beetlejuice.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I said,
Mhm.
Tim Burton's first movie ever was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which he was the director of that, but he was really somebody else's vision that he was sort of having to follow through on. It was Paul
Mhm.
Rubin's vision.
Mhm.
But this is his second film ever directing, and you can really just see him establish his whole style, his whole sort of oeuvre right here
Hmm.
in
Mhm.
this
This
movie.
is it.
So kudos, Tim Burton. You know, you made a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, Nessie, you guys make a cute couple.
Aw.
All right. Well, that having been said, I guess we'll move to the end, shall we?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Nessie, you've got Magical Menagerie coming back
Yep.
soon.
Soonish. Yeah.
Soonish.
Got to get some guests together. Hey, anybody want to come on my channel and maybe talk about some Sasquatch,
They should have
Bigfoot?
done this the whole time, huh?
Just your head. Yeah. Or maybe you've got another cryptid you'd like to explore. Just hit me up on Twitter. And yeah, I'll have you on the channel. We can talk about some weirdness.
Cool. I can't. Sorry, I'm over here playing with my disembodied head.
Yay!
Oh man. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to that. I love the Magical Menagerie series. Cool monsters are fun to learn about.
Mhm.
John, what's coming up?
All right, next week it's gonna be the Knights of Tira. Christine and I will be talking about Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and then the week after that, Kelly will be joining me for a discussion on Sin City.
Nice.
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 Awesome.
Cecilia, do you know what you've got next yet?
I don't.
Okay.
That's the mystery of my podcast.
What?
Okay, but it's
Okay.
going to be a couple of
Yeah.
Spanish spoken episodes, and then after that another English one. So
So keep your eye
yeah.
on the Cecilia channel. Go subscribe. She streams every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Hmm.
So check that out. And yeah, if it's in a language you can understand, tune in.
Or if you're just plain curious and trying to learn another language, you're welcome to listen to the Spanish ones. And yeah, that's cool.
And finally, come back to Here Be Dragons. Next week, we will have I Know That Nerd with Clint from the Learned Hands podcast. The week after that, still a little up in the air. We'll let you know. And hit me up about HereBeCon. You want to come hang out with us in January? Hit me up. You guys all know where to find me. Everybody's social media links are down in the description. Link to Cecilia's YouTube channel also down in the description. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that is it. I don't know what people are talking about. Is he my lawyer? No, I think he might be my lawyer. I'm not sure. I'm going to ask him if he is. Actually, you know what I'm most looking forward to? Nobody cue him in on this. I know he's not going to watch this, so he won't hear. But I'm going to ask him what's so important about the Magna Carta. And I'm prepared to get educated.
Are you
after I ask him that question?
Trying to wind him up?
I am trying to wind him up. But anyway, yeah, happy Halloween, everyone. Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us. John,
thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. We're going to have you back soon when, when the Expanse comes back. You're kind of at the top of the list.
Awesome.
To have guests come and talk about it. John, Nessie, you guys are awesome as always. Thanks for elevating the game. Thanks for making me look good by extension. Chatters, you guys are awesome as always. This was a lot of fun. We had a pretty good turnout this week too. Good movie, good guests. So yeah, thanks so much everyone who made this Halloween stream a success. Now get out there and scare some children, and we'll see you next week. All right. So until then, Peace and be excellent to each other.